Hi everybody! Today we are going to do a lesson called From Seed, these teeny tiny seeds, to table. Meaning going from being a seed in the ground to something that I would sit and eat at the table, like this delicious spinach. For today we're going to do a couple things. Number one, I wanted to show you the last time I saw you guys, we made our little sprout houses, and I wanted to show you that my beans have sprouted and we're actually going to plant them in the ground outside now, because now that it's May, it's getting warmer finally, that we can take some of our plants and put them outside. So we're going to do that today. I'm also going to share with you guys a great story called Sylvia's Spinach. And in this story, she basically starts as someone who maybe doesn't like spinach, won't try spinach, but boy, does her mind change when she actually grows something starting from a seed. And I'm hoping that this might encourage you guys to do the same, because I'm also going to kind of show you some seeds that you can plant in the ground right now. And if you can't get seeds, well, now's a great time that at some of the stores like Agway or Country Mile or other stores, they're selling little baby plants. And we are also going to have a baby plant sale on May 16th, and maybe you can get some plants that way, because I would love to have, even though I can't see you guys and we're not planting in the classroom like we normally would, I would love to hear some stories from you of how you're planting at home and then harvesting come this summer, because it really is a wonderful thing to make your own food. Also in today, we are going to do a couple fun recipes, some snacks that are incorporating fresh fruits and vegetables. I'm mostly going to do vegetable recipes. You could certainly do them with fruits. We just didn't have a ton of fruit at our house right now, but we definitely have a lot of vegetables that we're using. So those are the fun things that we're gonna do in today's lesson. So before I start today's lesson at my house, I did have a chance to go to the urban farm and see things are starting to grow. I know it's so early in the season, but Farmer Sean has been really busy all by himself, prepping these beds to get them ready to plant. We even have asparagus starting to come up. We have our cabbages that were planted. And even in our high tunnels, we have carrots and radishes and spinach. Spinach has been harvested and delivered to the Interfaith Food Pantry. All right, so my son Jackson and I, say hi Jackson,
Hi.
are going to plant those little beans that we planted in our sprout houses way back in March. And we're also going to be planting some peas that I started growing inside. So the reason I'm planting peas is I did already plant some outside. You can see they're coming up already. I planted these seeds back in March, but if we zoom out, notice this should be an entire row. And unfortunately, we have some very hungry squirrels who like to dig, and they usually dig out some seeds. So we're gonna replace those plants that were kind of eaten by the squirrels with some ones that I grew inside. So Jackson and I are gonna plant these peas, and what's cool is I grew these seeds in basically a piece of cardboard. So this entire thing can get planted in the ground. So now he's gonna make a hole. I like my peas to usually be about 4 inches apart. So make a hole right there, Jackson. It's not too deep. Good. And make sure that whole thing gets covered. Pat it down gently. Perfect. So peas are going to need some kind of support system. So once they start to grow a little bigger, they get pretty tall, but they need something to climb onto. And it's so cool because they create these tendrils. So you can kind of see these little tendrils here that are coming out. Those tendrils are going to come out and they need to grab onto something as they continue to climb. I know it's kind of blurry because I'm so close, but even this one is trying to get tendrils. So we have this in place, and then I will add something by the peas that we just planted. So these are the beans that we grew in our tiny little sprout house. And if we carefully take this paper towel off, we'll be able to see all of the roots that are coming off of them. You can even still see the seeds left behind, but we're going to carefully plant these in some holes that are also next to a trellis because these also like to climb. So the activity we're going to do today is we are going to figure out the steps that are needed to go from a seed to our table, meaning when we're ready to eat something that we grew in the ground. So I showed you guys the cards. I had 11 different cards that we're going to put in order on our board. And now obviously it does say seed as the first thing. However, one of those cards that's down at the bottom is something that I would actually do before I would put that seed in the ground. So think about what that might be, and perhaps you could point to it at the bottom. And did you pick soil preparation? Yeah. So the first thing that Farmer Sean does, and the first thing that I might do in my home garden, is I want to make sure my soil is ready for those seeds. And the soil is really, really important. And you know, I don't call it dirt, it's soil, right? Anything that's living in it is called soil. Then, once I know that soil has been prepared, so whether I've added nutrients to it, maybe I had to turn it over a little bit, then we can put those seeds in the ground. Now, look at what's left of our different examples. And what do you think is going to come next? Do you think it's a young plant with leaves? Do you think it's the fruit? Do you think it's flowers, harvesting? Or did you pick a sprouting plant? Sure, that's what we got to see actually. And if you did the little sprout house like I did inside, then maybe you had a chance to actually see a sprouting plant. And then after that plant sprouts, what is going to come next? Perhaps I'm between these two choices. What do you think? A young plant with leaves and flowers, or a young plant with leaves? What do you think comes first? That's right, just the leaves. The leaves are going to be the first thing to come out. And then after some time, well then, those flowers will come. And obviously this time of year, we're just starting to see the flowers that are starting to come off of some of our plants. Then, after I have my flowers, I want to turn this into a food that I'm going to eat. Something has to come along and help that flower turn into the food I like to eat. And that, of course, is our friendly bees, butterflies, flies, our pollinators. So our pollinators have to come and visit those flowers, spread the pollen from one flower onto another flower, and from that, we get our magical change from a flower to our next stop is our fruit. So our next step would be the fruit. And so this example, it looks like we got tomatoes on here that were made. And tomatoes are our fruit, cucumbers are our fruit, eggplants, peppers. So now I have my fruit. That fruit continues to grow. So we have 4 cards left. What do you think might be the next step? I hope you picked this one, harvesting. Harvesting is a long process, and it just means to pick something. So this is what Farmer Sean and his volunteers spend a lot of time doing, picking those fruits and vegetables from the farm. Well, after they've been harvested, well, let's see, I have 3 left. I have my eating at the table, I have my preparing and cooking, and I have dishes and compost. So what would be next? Before we can eat it, do we have to do something to it? Sure. So next would be preparing and cooking. So maybe I wash them, maybe I'm cutting them up, maybe I'm cooking them, depending on what we're going to eat. And I'm going to show you guys some fun little recipes that we can make with lots of fruits and vegetables. But sure, my next thing is going to be preparing and cooking, which of course comes our favorite part, eating at the table, right? So now we're going to enjoy this delicious food that we grew from our soil and our seed. And it leaves one left. Dishes and composting. And sometimes people wonder, well, why did you have dishes and composting as part of this cycle? Well, if you watch the video I did on composting with worms, or if you remember, sometimes we've talked about compost, but composting is a way that I can take any waste food and turn it back into something special. And it gets turned back into what we started with, the soil. So I can take that compost, it's good nutrients that I will then add to my soil, and it turns this all into, what's that called? A cycle, okay? A cycle where we can be reducing our waste, we're using our compost, and instead of throwing it out in the trash, we're actually using it to help our plants grow and growing those delicious fruits and vegetables that we get to eat. So we just looked at a really easy food cycle where it was our home garden to our plate. But think about if we used a farm market, well, now we have to include transportation, but supermarkets are going to include even more transportation and packaging and distribution and in our store and the delivery. So there's so much more that's involved when we go to food at the grocery store. It's always best if we can just buy local or grow your own. So I hope you enjoy putting together the seed to table. I think what we need to do next is go to the table and actually try some good food. So this is the snack that we are going to try to make with my children. Now, these things are perfect, and please don't try to strive for perfection. Just have fun, do the best that you can, in making whatever you can. Obviously, these were made by professionals. If somebody makes one that looks this awesome, please share it with me. I'd love to see your photos. You guys can email it to me. I'll give you my email at the end of the lesson. So before we even sat here to try to make them, I prepped a couple things in advance. Now, our kids are older, so we're letting them use knives, but your kids are probably smaller and you may not be able to do that. But I have lots of different materials. We have our olives, we have radishes, we have carrots, spinach, I got cabbage, peppers, celery, and the other thing is what we're going to use to put everything together. And since we're doing vegetables, we're going to do a cream cheese that I just mixed a little tiny bit of, this is like a powdered ranch dressing to give it a little more like garlicky flavor. But this is going to be our base for making our bugs. So now we're going to start to create some little bugs and use our imaginations and come up with whatever we do. All right, you guys ready? While I was prepping my vegetables, I wanted to make sure I was saving any scraps for compost. Just like we saw in our seed to table activity, we saw that the compost was kind of the end of the beginning of that cycle. So all of these little shavings that we had to clean off are going to go in our compost for our worms. We're gonna make some silly faces on a tortilla, and I could definitely take a peeler and peel off some carrot to make little like strips so it could be hair, but I do have a fun veggie bullet spiralizer, so we're gonna try to do that and see if we can make some fun hair spirals. You guys ready?
Yeah.
All right. see what we got. Oh, yay. And obviously this is not for kids because it's super, super sharp. But now we have some fun spirals that we can use for hair on our silly faces. So the book I want to read today is called Sylvia's Spinach. And it's a good story because it's about someone who doesn't like spinach and maybe changes her mind after she gets a chance to grow her own. And I thought it would be perfect for part of our Seed to Table lesson today. And I even brought some nice fresh spinach from the urban farm that I just picked up this morning as well, that Farmer Sean is growing. So here's Sylvia's spinach. Sylvia Spittins always said no to spinach. No spinach with my eggs, no spinach in my soup, no spinach on my sandwich. No spinach ever. Sylvia's parents sighed as she pulled the spinach from her lasagna, plucked the spinach from her salad, pushed every last leaf to the tippiest tip of her plate. But it's good for you, said Sylvia's mother. You need your growing food, said Sylvia's father. No, thank you, said Sylvia. I just wish she was polite about it. On a drizzly gray day in March, Sylvia's teacher had an announcement. Class, we are going to start a garden. We'll grow peas and lettuce and carrots and potatoes and tomatoes and squash. We'll grow cucumbers and radishes and spinach. Blech, said Sylvia. The teacher handed each student a packet of seeds. And wouldn't you know it, Sylvia got spinach. Double blech, she said. Sylvia tried to trade for Penelope's peas. And no way, said Penelope, rolling the little green balls in her hand. And she tried to trade for cucumbers, tomatoes, or squash. Nope, said Carlos. Forget it, said Terry. And sorry, said Sam. Sylvia asked her teacher. She said, please, please, give me another vegetable, any other vegetable. Oh, I'm sorry, Sylvia, said her teacher. There aren't any more. So Sylvia was stuck with spinach. She doesn't seem too happy. Sylvia tore open the packet and looked at the little brown seeds in her hand. Sylvia's seeds looked so unspinachy. Sylvia followed her teacher's instructions and covered each seed with a thin layer of dirt. Oh, as Farmer Tina calls it, soil. Then she sprinkled the seeds with water and put them in the classroom's sunniest window. Now what? Asked Sylvia. Well, now we wait, said the teacher. Well, days passed, and the soil still looked like soil. The peas were the first to sprout, shooting up out of the dirt like tiny beanstalks. But Sylvia's soil still looked like soil. The cucumbers and the squash sprouted next, sending 2 round leaves out of each seed. And Sylvia's dirt still looked like dirt. And one by one, all of the other seeds sprouted. Stupid spinach, muttered Sylvia. On the first sunny day in April, Sylvia's spinach finally sprouted, sending 2 long shoots poking out of the soil. The plants were smaller than Sylvia's smallest finger, but strong enough to push their way towards the sun. There you are, Sylvia shouted. My spinach! Every day, Sylvia checked on her baby spinach. Good morning, she whispered, and she watered her spinach and made sure it got just exactly the right amount of sunlight. And every day, Sylvia's spinach grew a little bit taller and a little bit stronger. On a blue sky day in May, the students planted their garden. They planted peas and carrots and lettuce and potatoes, tomatoes and squash. They planted cucumbers, radishes, and Sylvia planted her spinach. Weeks passed, and the sun shone, and the rain rained, and every day Sylvia's spinach got a little bit bigger and a little bit rounder. Those peas sent long wavy shoots up towards the sky, and the cucumbers and squash grew big rough leaves that even the slugs wouldn't eat. And by the last week of school, Penelope's pea plants had beautiful white flowers, but no peas. Terry's tomato plants had tiny yellow star flowers, but no tomatoes. And Carlos's cucumber and Sam's squash had big yellow flowers, but no cucumbers or squash. There were only 3 vegetables ready to eat in the garden: lettuce, radishes, and Sylvia's spinach. Class, the best part about having a garden is eating what we've grown, said Sylvia's teacher. So the class nibbled on fresh lettuce, and they bit into fat red radishes, and everyone munched on bright green spinach leaves. Well, everyone except Sylvia. Sylvia sniffed the spinach. It didn't smell bad. Then Sylvia stuck out her tongue. She licked. It didn't taste bad. And finally, Sylvia opened her mouth and bit that spinach leaf in half. Crunch! Not bad, said a very surprised Sylvia. And as the other students picked a little of this and a little of that to take home to their families, Sylvia picked bunches and bunches of spinach. She was picking all that spinach. After school, Sylvia raced home to deliver her spinach. Look, Mom, look, Dad, called Sylvia. Look at my spinach. It's beautiful, said her mother. It looks scrumptious, said her father. But Sylvia, what will we do with it? You don't like spinach. I tried it, Mom, Sylvia said. It's good. We can do anything we want with it. What do you think she's going to make with it? What would you make with spinach if you had some spinach? Lots of different choices. That night, Sylvia tried spinach in her lasagna. She nibbled spinach in her salad, and wouldn't you know it, her spinach was delicious. And the next day, Sylvia ate spinach with her eggs. She ate spinach with her soup, and she even ate spinach on her sandwich. And that was the summer that Sylvia said yes to spinach. I like that story. It's a good story because it gets us thinking about, wow, what foods have maybe I tried that I didn't like before, but now I do like them because I had a chance to grow them. Or I tried them maybe from the farm. I know we may not be able to get our trip to the farm in May, but you guys can all have a chance hopefully this summer to come to the farm and maybe try something and see what you like from there. And like I said, I love spinach. I like to eat spinach cooked. I like to eat spinach with eggs. I like to have spinach in soup. I put it in smoothies. But I do like raw spinach as well. It's nice and crunchy. So I hope you enjoyed Sylvia's spinach. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope some of you are inspired to get outside, maybe plant some seeds in the ground. Perhaps you're actually going to a store like Agway or Country Mile to get some seedlings. The one other thing I do want to mention is It Green Morristown is offering a plant seedling sale. Our plant seedling sale is going to be on Saturday, May 16th. It's going to be at the Urban Farm. However, we are making this an online order only, meaning the week prior to May 16th, we will have an online order form on our website under events. From that order form, you can order different plants. We are going to have tomato plants, eggplant, different flowers, lots of different plants that you can choose from. So you can go online, order those plants, And then on May 16th, myself, Farmer Sean, Farmer Emma, we're all going to be there for a delivery. Basically, you come and pick them up in your trunk, so it'll be contactless delivery. But we're hoping that some of you can join us for that plant seedling sale. We're also going to have some seed packets for sale too. So in case you don't get a chance to get the little plants, there are plenty of seeds that can go in the ground right now, and you'll be eating fresh food later this summer. Most of the root vegetables, along with beans, are easy enough to just put a seed in the ground to start. So I hope everyone enjoyed. I hope you enjoyed the recipes. I look forward to hearing from you. Maybe some of you can share with your principals or your teachers photos of you making the recipes that could be shared with me. I would love to hear from you guys. So hopefully all is going well. And until the next time I see you, and I think what I'm going to do for my next lesson is Farmer Sean and I are going to do a virtual farm field trip. So I will be filming at the farm for the next lesson, and we'll see our chickens and we'll see what's growing and kind of give you an idea of basically a sneak peek of what will be available this summer at our farm stand. So keep growing, stay healthy, and I'll talk to you soon.